Hey there, welcome back to the Great Canadian Blueprint. I'm Ian, your guide through Canada's economic history. And today we're exploring two Pacific Coast gems, Victoria and Vancouver, BC. Just a short ferry ride apart, these cities share a story of immigration that fueled their economies, shaped their cultures, and built their skylines. As a RE/MAX real estate agent in Hamilton, Ontario, I'm exploring Canada's history to find out how our country came into what it is today. So let's dive in. Picture the mid-1800s. Victoria and Vancouver are sleepy outposts on the edge of the British Empire. Victoria, established in 1843 as a Hudson's Bay Company trading post, had about 300 residents. Across the water, the area that would become Vancouver was still dense forest. Then, in 1858, the Fraser Canyon Gold Rush struck. This wasn't just a rush for gold, it was an economic earthquake. Victoria's population exploded to over 5,000 people almost overnight as fortune seekers flooded in, using it as a launch pad to the gold fields. Vancouver's growth came a little bit later, but the gold rush rippled through the region, drawing British and Chinese immigrants who laid the economic foundations for both cities. The British arrived as traders, administrators, and military personnel. They brought capital and governance, setting up Victoria as a colonial hub, and later, Vancouver as a commercial center. By 1871, Victoria's population was about 3,200 people, heavily British, and their investments in trade and land speculation kick-started the economy. Vancouver, incorporated in 1886, followed suit, with British settlers driving early commerce. Chinese arrivals came for gold but stayed for the work. They opened businesses, supplied labor, and field trade, with Victoria's Chinatown on Fiskard Street becoming an economic powerhouse by 1911. Housing over 3,000 people. Vancouver's Chinatown grew similarly, reaching over 3,500 residents by 1901. Economically, they were vital. But the Chinese head tax, which taxed every Chinese resident moving into Canada, starting at $50 in 1885 and rising to $500 by 1903, drained their earnings, limiting reinvestment. The gold rush injected cash into both cities though. Victoria merchants profited from outfitting miners, with trade revenue jumping from negligible amounts to thousands of dollars monthly by 1859. Real estate boomed too. Lots that sold for $25 in 1857 hit $500 by 1860 as demand surged. Vancouver's economic spark came later, but the gold rush set the stage for its resource-driven future. Then, in 1886, the Canadian Pacific Railway, CPR, tied Canada's east to west, supercharging the economies of Victoria and Vancouver. The CPR made Vancouver its western point, sparking explosive growth, while Victoria leveraged its proximity for trade and tourism. This wasn't just a transportation project, it was an economic lifeline that relied on immigrant labor. Over 15,000 Chinese workers built the CPR, facing deadly conditions while earning half the wages of white workers. Post-construction, many settled in Victoria and Vancouver, boosting local economies with businesses and labor in canneries and construction. The CPR turned Vancouver into a shipping and resource hub, exporting lumber, grain, and minerals. By 1891, its economy grew tenfold, with port activity generating an estimated $1.2 million annually. Victoria, meanwhile, became a supply and tourism center, with shipping and government jobs adding $500,000 yearly to its economy by 1900. Together, they formed a regional economic powerhouse. The railway triggered a land rush. In Vancouver, the population leaped from 1,000 in 1886 to over 13,000 by 1891. And lots on Granville Street soared from $500 to $5,000 in 4 years. The CPR's 25 million acres of land grants were sold off, driving suburban growth. Victoria's real estate rose steadily. Inner harbor lots hit $1,000 by 1900 as the population reached over 20,000 people by 1901, reflecting its stable but slower expansion. As the 19th century turned into the 20th century, Japanese and South Asian immigrants arrived, diversifying the economies and landscapes of both cities. Starting in the 1890s, Japanese settlers like Manzo Nagono, the first Japanese person to officially immigrate to Canada, built communities around fishing and lumber. By 1914, Canada had 10,000 Japanese, many in Vancouver's Powell Street area. They dominated the fishing industry, contributing $2 million annually to BC's economy by 1920. Then the 1907 anti-Asian riot and World War II internment disrupted their growth, but their economic legacy endured. Sikh Punjabis arrived around 1900 with 5,000 BC by 1908. They powered the lumber industry, working in mills that produced $10 million in lumber yearly by 1910. Victoria's Gurdwara, built in 1912, and Vancouver's Punjabi market became economic hubs, though policies like the 1908 Continuous Journey Rule and the 1914 Komagata Maru incident curbed their numbers. These communities filled the labor gaps. Japanese fishing and South Asian lumber work supported export-driven growth, while their businesses, restaurants, stores, and mills, reinvested profits locally. Immigrant contribution came at a cost. The Chinese head tax extracted $23 million nationwide by 1923, siphoning wealth from communities. The 1923 Chinese Immigration Act halted growth until 1947, while Japanese internment in 1942 cost $43 million in confiscated property. South Asians faced wage suppression and land restrictions, stunting economic mobility. These policies propped up white-owned businesses but left immigrant economies fragile. After 1967's immigration reforms, Victoria and Vancouver became multicultural hubs. By 2016, Victoria had over 65,000 immigrants. It's about 17.8% of the population. And Vancouver had almost a million, which is 40.2% of its population. Top countries include China, India, and the Philippines. In 2021, 54% of Metro Vancouver's residents were visible minorities, driving commerce and innovation. From gold rush traders to modern entrepreneurs, immigrants built Victoria and Vancouver's economies. British capital, Chinese labor, Japanese fishing, and South Asian lumber created a foundation that diversity now amplifies. So, here's the question. How will immigration shape the economic future of these cities amid housing and growth debates? Share your thoughts below. Thanks for watching The Great Canadian Blueprint. Hit like and subscribe for the next chapter of Canada's economic story.